Hello, everyone. Looks like we've got a couple more people joining. Good day, good evening, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us. This is our second set of town halls. This is the first of phase two. If you did not join us for phase one, the website, at the very top of the website, there's an orange button to where if you click it, you can see all the information that we've disseminated so far, and there are some links to the recordings for the previous town halls. So if you missed phase one, you can listen to any one of those three. I recommend listening to the first one. It seemed a little more fluid and cohesive than the subsequent ones. But we'll get right into it. I'm going to introduce to you the members of the DNA Executive Committee. Chuck Klein, who's also ASCA's current first VP. He retired in July of 25 from BASF Corporation with over 29 years of service. His last position was Global Development Manager for General Insect Control, which he held for 12 years. He has a BS in entomology from Texas A&M and an MS and PhD in livestock entomology from the University of Arkansas. Ann McCabe, which is our current second vice president, has a BS in geology from UCLA and an MA in education with a technology emphasis from Pepperdine University. She's a high school science teacher at Culver City High. She's been teaching 33 years and has taught chemistry, earth science, physics, integrated physical science, and integrated life science. Liz Biscuits, who you all know, was a former two-term ASCA president. She served in the U.S. Army, 3rd Armored Division, Military Intelligence, Electronic Signal Specialist. She has a BS in Biology, Master of Public Health, MA, and all but dissertation in history. She worked for a lab studying muscle structure at Boston University Medical School, worked 6 years for OSHA, worked 8 years at W.M. Keck Center for Transgene Study at the University of Notre Dame, and was a teaching assistant at the University of Georgia and is now retired. And we are utilizing her. Peter Hellmeister, who is not in attendance today, he has a professional background in administration, working for both the city and county offices as well as private businesses. He was a founding member of the ASCA DNA committee established in the mid-90s and later rejoined the committee in 2017 at the conclusion of ASCA's partnership with Therion. He acted as the DNA committee chair as well as serving 3 terms as an ASCA director. Peter brings a great deal of practical experience to the current executive DNA committee and serves as our European liaison. And myself, Jillian Ward, currently an ASCA director and the project manager for the DNA Executive Committee. You probably all know that I own my own business, so I'm an entrepreneur with a strong background in business operations, management, and accounting. Whew, that was a lot. The intent of these meetings is to walk alongside the membership as ASCA prepares to transition its DNA program to VGL UC Davis. Tonight, we'll be discussing a recap of phase one, as well as the contents of phase two, which includes the Oravet data transfers, the PPG data, our partnership with Certigen, as well as addressing questions from the membership that were submitted electronically and also that came out of questions that came out of phase one. The meeting will be kept to 1 hour. There's a lot to cover. Therefore, we ask during the presentation if you have a question, if you can kindly use the chat feature. If you're unfamiliar with it, you're going to hover around the bottom of your screen. There is, what is it? The React or the chat button. There's a little link that says chat. A box will appear to the right of your screen and you can type your questions in there. For this evening, I've just finished the introduction. I'll take care of the recap on from phase one, and then Chuck will be talking about the Oravet data transfer, the PPG data, and our relationship with the lab in Europe, Certigen. Anne will be managing the questions, and Liz will be helping to field some of the questions as well. Okay, that was the introduction. So let's go to the recap real quickly. I'm going to go through this very quickly because the meat of this meeting is actually phase two that Chuck will be leading, and then the question and answer portion. All right. So, for those of you who did not attend phase one was really introducing our partnership with VGL, as well as our effort to ramp down our partnership, our current contract with Oravet. So, those of you who still have outstanding cases with Oravet, we need to make sure that you get all of your dog's data into your Oravet, into your account and your dog's specific accounts, because we are going to be transferring the data from Oravet to VGL. The first of the three transfers took place last week. We're in the process. We are in a honeymoon stage with VGL right now, so we're having to the first transfer is the most voluminous, and so it will be the most problematic because it's the first time we're transferring data. So we are in the process of working out the bugs, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will actually have fluid data so that during phase three, we can start explaining to the membership how we're going to how you're going to work through the My VGL account and how to obtain tests and whatnot. If you have the best way to be certain that your data is in that is has been transferred from Oravet to the ASCA portal is to go into all of your dog's profiles in your ASCA account and make sure the identifier next to their name indicates that they are DNA CP or VP. If your dog does not have that title next to its name, ASCA has not received the data from Oravet. If you need help getting that information, we have assembled the three board members on this committee. We do have a email, which is the DNA help desk, that you can email us. It's a group of three of us that we will field the questions as they come in on rotation, and we will try to help you push your data through. When you go to your Oravet account, please make sure in your member account that your ASCA member ID is in your account. If you are struggling to get your ID number to stay in your Oravet account, there is a form. We will supply that to you, I guess maybe in the chat. I don't have my chat open. Maybe I should have my chat open. We will provide that tonight, but we will also follow up with the information on Facebook. The link is available on our website right now. So what I mean by this is when you go to enter your ASCA ID number in your Oravet account, if it doesn't stay, so for instance, I entered it 3 times and it wouldn't remain. That means that we have to ask Oravet to put your member ID number through the back end. So we have a Google form that will allow you to put your name, your member ID number, and then in bulk, we will send that to Oravet and we will get the data pushed through. So to get your data from Oravet to ASCA, you have to have your member ID number. And by the way, Anne just dropped it in the chat for anybody who wants to take a look at it right now. You can also circle back later. So remember, in your Oravet account, you have to have your member ID number, and then each of your dogs, You have to make sure that their ASCA registration number is accurate. The spelling of their name matches their registration. Any of those three items that are not correct will disallow your data to be transferred from Oravet to ASCA. In order for Oravet to ultimately transfer your data to VGL, all of that information has to be accurate, or you will not be included in any of the data transfers. We have done one of the three data transfers. We have two more coming up, one at the end of April, or about the third week of April, and then one at the conclusion of our agreement with Oravet, which is going to be sometime early May. So we need to make sure all of that stuff gets through. Um, I think that that was the recap. I'm just wanting to say the last few things for Oravet is please, if you have outstanding kits that you have purchased from Oravet, I think it's important for everybody who's signing on this one that wasn't on the last one. We'll go through the technology maybe during the Q&A, but there is a technology that it's the ISAG 2020 markers using the SNP technology, SNP. The technology that Oravet is currently using is transferable to VGL. They will be the same type of technology. So that's why we're trying to get as many of your cases pushed through to Oravet because ASCA is paying for the transfers. You will not have to pay for the transfers. We're going to absorb that. If you have any outstanding kits, use them no later than March 31st. The reason we say that is if you mail them on March 31st, you have to allow for mail time, and then you have to allow Oravet time to result, which takes roughly 4 weeks right now, but it can take up to 6 weeks. Also, in some cases, they're asking for more DNA or a retest. So give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. March 31st is the date. Make sure it's everything outstanding is mailed to them so they can get it resulted and back to you so that your data is part of the upcoming second and third transfers. Did I leave anything out? My team, did I leave anything out? If not, we're going to let Chuck talk about the Oravet data transfers specifically.
Okay, thanks, Jill. So as Jill said, we're going to do three transfers of data from Oravet to VGL, and the first one occurred over the weekend, and there was uh, several very large files that were transferred over, and so I'm working with both IT groups from both organizations to make sure that the information is put in the form that VGL can use. And so we're working through that now. And as Jill said, we're going to have two more transfers. And I think the what we actually decided on was like the week of April the 6th and also the third week of May. So that will allow you to send samples into Oravet and make sure they're resulted and it gets transferred to VGL. So that's kind of where we stand now as far as the data transfer. Now, when we talk about the Oravet data and the PPG data, the Oravet data will transfer fine because they are using the ISAG 2020 SNPs, which we will be using, or VGL will be using for their DNA parentage testing. Now, the PPG data, and I think we talked about this in the first town halls, that There are proprietary marker sets that they use. They were SNPs, but they were proprietary. So we have no idea what those markers actually are. And if what I've been told is the marker set for PPG and the marker set for ISAG, the ISAG 2020, there is only one that's in common, one actually marker that's in common. So those data will not transfer over to VGL. And um, that makes it important to get your Oravet testing done, and that results into the system so that those can be transferred. Um, Now, when we talk about Certigen, we're going to maintain our relationship with Certigen as our European lab for doing DNA parentage testing there. They will be switching from the PPG marker set to the ISAG 2020 marker set. So the marker set that they're using will be the exact same marker set that VGL is using. And those data will be transferable to VGL. They have also conducted the ISAG 2020 testing on samples in the past. And so the data from that testing will also be transferable to VGL. We're still kind of working out the details on what that may cost to do those transfers. So we're going to, like I said, keep that relationship going with Certigen. They will be our lab in Europe, and um, they seem, they're very excited to be partnering with us and VGL, and everybody be using the marker set that's public, and um, everybody will have access to it. So that's kind of my quick update on on the data transfer, the PPG data, and the Certigen partnership. You're on mute, Jill. Oh,
We discovered this the last time that
yeah.
Kala has us all muted, so or she has to allow us to unmute ourselves. I wanted to elaborate a little bit because this is something that's very important that people understand. The proprietary markers that PPG was using, when we talk about proprietary, AKC currently has proprietary markers. What that means is they are not universal, they are not shared, they are not transferable. And while I'm sure at one time there was some good rationale for PPG to have to give ASCA its own proprietary markers, they're not usable. PPG has, for all in terms, for lack of better terms, they've gone out of business. Oravet has assumed their cases, but they also do not use the PPG markers. So those of us who have dogs that have been tested with PPG only and not retested with Oravet, you do not lose the dog's DNA status of VP or CP, but the data, their actual individual genotypes, is it's not compatible with the ISAG markers, the current ISAG gold standard set. The ISAG markers is the way the industry is going, this 2020 set. And you will start hearing more and more labs utilizing the same marker sets. And why that's an intelligent choice is because they're usable elsewhere. When an organization like AKC chooses a proprietary set, it's with the express intent of not sharing it, which is why ASCA does not use or cannot use the AKC markers. We can't use the results because it's not readable, it's not usable. We don't have a key to it, right? And it's purposefully designed that way. So, there will be some ways moving forward that we plan to try and address those dogs that don't have that haven't been tested with the ISAG marker set. But please know that we don't have all the answers. We discovered this executive committee discovered this information um, as we are going through. This is one of the reasons that we're going to transfer our business to VGL, because VGL will be a partner for life. So just bear in mind that that if your dog was tested with PPG, it may need to be retested again, depending on how you choose to use the dog's DNA moving forward. We will get to that. We don't have all the answers today, but we will get to all of your questions moving forward. I think it's very important that we speak very candidly about those proprietary markers. So I guess now, Anne, do you want to move forward on the questions?
Sure. I will read aloud in case everyone or anyone can't see it. And then I think I can answer this as just related to what you were saying, Jillian. So the question was, a dog has to be DNA'd by Oravet in order to attain CP or VP status at VGL, correct? So any dog that was DNA'd by PPG before the merger would have to be DNA'd again by VGL for CP or VP status. That is not true. If a dog was DNA'd by PPG and those results were sent to ASCA, and in ASCA's records, that dog is CP or VP, that stays. And if one wants to register litters from that dog, they can, because the dog has been DNA'd. However, if you want any puppies of that dog to be VP, both parents will need to have been DNA'd with Oravet or VGL. So they're not going to lose the status, but the only way to get VP on any litters going forward is if both parents were tested with either Oravet or VGL. So hopefully that answers that question. Then we had two questions that were submitted via the form. And the first question Chuck was going to field, which you kind of did. So the question came through on the form. Why are you not using Davis markers? I think those are the markers that we should use. So Chuck, you were going to address that.
Davis currently uses the STR markers. They are, which is an older technology. They are changing to the SNP marker set, and they will be using the ISAG 2020 SNP marker set, which, as we've referred to, is kind of the gold standard now, and many of the labs are using. So they're moving away from SDRs and going to SNPs for ASCA.
Okay. Then the next question that came in, foreign registration. Why can we not register a foreign dog that is coming from AKC that has Mini American? I understand that they went from Australian Shepherd to Mini American, but they were Australian Shepherd first. At the end of the day, it's not a new breed. And Liz Busquets was going to field this question.
Okay, so this is not really a DNA question, right? But the answer is kind of simple. 2 decades ago, ASCA decided that minis were a separate breed. So from that point on, all minis have been identified as a separate breed. AKC registration status really doesn't matter at that point because ASCA was initially considering them a different breed before AKC did. So that's one point. The second point is that when we go ahead and do this pedigree research, we see some dogs that have these minis in the back, and those minis, probably 98, 99% of them have also, besides being registered with AKC, some of them were registered with MASCA. So if they are registered with MASCA, that sort of tells ASCA right away, this is a breed different from our Aussies, right? So the rule right now is, and it probably will continue to be, that minis are a separate breed, and therefore we cannot accept foreign registrations that have these dogs in the back. And I'm sure it's probably going to stay that way.
Okay, thank you. So another question came through the chat. So apologies if it was already covered, but what does this mean for those of us who have frozen semen stored on deceased sires? And Jill said she would field this question.
Well, I have 2 pages of questions and answers. So let me find it on here. Make sure I don't go out of order. Okay. So these are the questions that came in from phase 1 that I promised I would get responses from VGL for. So let's see here. Okay, deceased sires, semen utilization or utilized as an alternative source, how much would be required and the process for collection and submittals? All right. So let me first, I am kind of going out of order. This actually follows another question. I wonder if I should ask that question first. Yeah, let me do this. Do you guys mind if I just go in order of my questions? Claire, do you mind if let me just go in order to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so the first question was, does VGL have depots in Canada? The Canadians are paying extensively for postage, and they have current concerns regarding tariffs for shipping DNA samples. VGL responded, and I will provide Kala with this Q&A that she and Heidi can get up on the website. So anybody, you don't have to take notes necessarily. Anybody can reference these. The answer is we do not have depots anywhere. Unfortunately, we have received and continue to receive samples from Canada with limited issues. Since the start of the new U.S. tariff policies, there have been frequent changes and misinterpretation by different couriers. We try to keep up with the new requirements and fees, but the situation is still fluid and can change suddenly. I believe the least expensive option is through the Canadian Post. They have a page addressing the new requirements for shipping, and it's listed here. Canine cheek swab or blood samples for diagnostic testing should not be subject to any tariff, but they will still need to go through the process of filling out a declaration form. And then it goes on to talk about the different HTS codes that are appropriate. I don't think we need to write it. I don't need to read all of this. So there's some explanations on how to avoid paying any additional fees. FedEx is apparently another option, which there is information attached here. And then also DHL is an option that looks pretty feasible financially. The last referenced is UPS, which seems cost prohibitive. I want to let our Canadian partners know that the Executive DNA Committee is currently seeking a Canadian lab partner who utilizes the ISAG 2020 markers to partner with us, much like we have in our European partner, Certigen. So that is not a for sure, but we are trying to come up with a scenario that will work for our Canadian members, much like we have come up with a solution for our European partners. The next question was, for those wishing to provide samples other than saliva, please share the process and associated costs. We understand that cheek swabs are the preferred method. However, we have people asking about blood and semen. So VGL's answer is we can accept blood, semen, or frozen tissues at no extra charge. All you pay is the cost of the test as listed on the website. The only sample type that incurs additional charge would be bones or teeth, as they require an extensive process for DNA extraction, $250 plus the cost of any desired tests. And then also she has has listed the link to the VGL website. And then she talks about the HTS codes and so on and so forth. Given these types of samples, and we are referring to blood or semen, they are less stable sample types. We recommend using expedited shipping, either overnight or second day most. Instructions for packaging and shipping these samples are also available on the sample type page that she shared above. Let's see. Now here's deceased sires, semen utilized as an alternate source. How much would be required and the process for the collection and submittal? The answer is described above. We can accept semen samples at no charge. Instructions for semen sample submission can be found on their website. And I will read what's on their website. There's no additional cost for testing a semen sample. If the semen is stored in a straw, we prefer a full straw. If the semen is stored in pellets, we prefer 2 to 3 pellets. We are willing to test semen from used straws with a combined minimum volume of 75 UL. Pack the semen straw well enough to withstand the rigors of shipping. These types of samples often arrive broken, and we cannot test broken samples. Please include an ice pack to keep the sample cool while in transit. The semen does not need to arrive frozen. Now on to deceased animals. Hair or cheek swabs collected after death are not accepted, as they typically fail to yield sufficient DNA for testing. If an animal is deceased, we can accept fresh or frozen tissue collected shortly after death, no additional cost, or bone or teeth samples for testing. $250 additional postmortem fee applies. And then it goes on to explain the instructions. I don't think I need to read all of that. The cost for DNA extraction from bones and teeth is $250 plus the cost of selected test. We accept teeth, optimal, for long bones for testing. For teeth, we prefer 4 to 6 molars with the jaw attached, but remove excess tissues. For bones, please remove any excess tissues from the bone prior to sending. I don't need to go. Please note that while we have a high success rate in post-mortem samples, we are not able to guarantee a result. If we are not able to obtain a result from the sample, we can offer a refund. As it relates to dogs and their DNA status that are deceased, there is no way for us to change their DNA status um, or to be able to test with the current 2020 ISAG marker set without utilizing one of those methods that I just described. So you would either need to utilize remnants of multiple straws or a straw or 2 to 3 pellets, or you would have to, I don't know that there is going to be much in way of tissue for a dog that's been deceased for a while. Hopefully that answers those questions. I have one more question. While I'm looking for this other question, because it was about how the semen is stored, or how the samples are stored, I will find the answer to that. I guess it didn't copy over. Oh, here it is. Question, how are samples stored, for how long, and where are they physically located? VGL's response, per our terms and conditions, we will store samples for a period of at least 5 years and will do everything in our power to maintain viability of the sample for any additional testing that is needed in the future. However, we cannot guarantee the suitability of a sample for any purpose. Samples are stored according to sample type. In most cases, we are storing the remaining DNA extracted from cheek swabs, tissues, semen, or blood samples. These are typically stored in it looks like negative 80 degrees Celsius freezer for best preservation of the DNA. So that's all the questions and answers that I had remaining from phase 1. Do we have any more questions that came in, Anne?
Nope, no more
Yeah, we've
questions.
got two more
Or
came
in
in.
the chat.
Yeah, two more in the chat.
Oh, I went replies. Got it. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So question. If one owns a dog that was tested and resulted by PPG, but a VP is desired for any upcoming litters, when will VGL begin testing without needing to go through Oravet and eliminate the middleman? So, Jillian, what are we?
So we were hopeful to be able to start having VGL disseminate kits sometime late March, early April. As of today, we learned that there is a potential delay in the manufacturing of the chips that we will be utilizing. So at present, I can't give you a hard date on that, but we should have that information in the coming days.
We will absolutely let you know when you can start sending samples to VGL.
Part of phase 3 is to actually describe all of our interactions with VGL and what the members can expect. But as of this moment, we're still in the data transference stage.
Okay, then another question, just a clarification. If my deceased male is DNA CP, does he need to be retested by VGL to register a litter from him? The answer is no. If a animal has a DNA result on them from whenever, the litter can be registered.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any more written questions, but we do have 19 minutes left before we're scheduled to sign off. So if anybody has any questions and you want to unmute yourself, we can try to field your questions on the fly if you prefer not to use the chat. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody brave enough to just ask them instead of type them?
I'm
Wait, she added a question here, whether this is regardless of the DNA, who the DNA certification was done through. So the answer to that is it doesn't matter whether it was PPG, whether it was Therion, or who knows, one of um, the previous one to Therion. The dog is already DNA'd. It's in the system as having been DNA'd. If it has a CP or VP designation, um, it's already in there. So it doesn't matter who the dog was um, uh, analyzed with. Is just going to be a matter of the progeny. So the progeny, if we don't have anything done with Oribet or VGL, then that progeny can be registered, but it will have a CP designation.
I do want to add to that we are not accepting, ASCA doesn't accept results from every lab in the world. So the labs that we have partnered with in the past, which include Therion and PPG and Orivet. So just to make sure we're clarifying, if your dog already has a DNA status, that does not change just because it was DNA'd, for instance, with Therion or PPG. If it's DNA CP or VP, that doesn't change. The only reason that you might want to at some point have a dog retested would be if you want to have it tested using the current ISAG 2020 marker set. That is that then allows its progeny to be verified, providing that the dam is also. I don't know what ImGen is. It's not a former partner of ours.
Yeah, that was the very first one, right? That was the one that you did samples before Therion.
I think what we need to make clear is if your dog, I don't know who ZU is, it just says Zoom user. So if you want to identify who you are so we know who we're talking to, but if your dog was tested using an old lab, it already has its identifier, it already has its DNA title, so it is non-issue. Any lab that ASCA partnered with in order to get your dog DNA'd, that does not change. It's sort of like we don't take championships away because we make a change. So it's a title. If your dog already is DNA'd and it has a CP or a VP, that does not change no matter what lab we move forward with. Yes, that's what I said. Any ASCA approved lab. Are there any more questions? Okay. Anything you want to add, Anne, Chuck, or Liz, or Kala, before we conclude?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just that the form is available to link your ASCA member number to your Orivet account, because looks very much like, from the reports that we've been getting, that a tiny minority of ASCA members who possibly have done DNA actually are registered as ASCA through the OraVet portal. And that's the only way that your data will be transferred over. So I posted the form for that. It's on the website. And then there still is the DNA help desk DNA for any issues that, if anyone needs individual attention, that Jillian, Chuck, and I are there to answer.
And I guess I would like to add, if any of our Canadian members on the call, if you do know of a lab in Canada that uses ISAG 2020 marker set, please send that information to the DNA help desk.
Excellent idea. You're welcome, Holly. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I can't see everybody on the call. There's too many things open on my screen, but we appreciate your taking the time to listen in. As a reminder, all of this stuff will be posted on the website. You can access it through the DNA button at the top of the header of the website. I think it's an orange button. Please encourage your friends to, we've essentially had a pretty small turnout, less than 100 people each meeting, and soon um, our dealings with Oravet will conclude in May of this month, and we hope that people don't get caught without having the facts. So we'll be here to continue to field questions and try to bring the information to the membership. But we need your help in sharing what you've learned and encourage your friends to join. We have two more meetings next week. I believe they are Tuesday and Saturday, the 7th. Um,
And
so,
also the Tuesday meeting, tell your West Coast friends that have real jobs that the Tuesday meeting starts at 6 p.m. West Coast time, if there are people that need that.
and Saturday is designed to also allow for European members to join. So please cast the net wide because this is a big topic. Thank you all for joining and thank you for thanking us. We appreciate it. This is a big project that we've undertaken, and we're fortunate to have you guys join us and ask questions because that's how we all learn. So we'll conclude. Thanks so much, everybody, and we hope to see you in phase 2 or phase 3. Sorry, this is phase 2. All right. Good night.
All right.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.